What do you, the viewers, think it is?
With this line, Jax breaks the fourth wall, confirming that Kane isn't the only one capable of doing so. But this isn't the first time Jax has broken the fourth wall. In the pilot episode, we already saw some strong hints pointing to that ability. When a character breaks the fourth wall and speaks directly to the audience, it's not something unusual or unconventional in the world of animation. Many creators give this ability to specific characters in their works, as fourth wall breakers often symbolize psychological instability, or even represent a character's awareness and acceptance of their own role within their world. Characters like the Joker, Deadpool, and Bugs Bunny are both annoying and lovable at the same time. They've abandoned logic, struggle with psychological issues, yet possess a deep awareness of the role they play in their worlds, understanding their reality more than anyone else around them. But today's video isn't just about breaking the fourth wall or exploring mental instability. Today's video is an analysis of one of the most iconic characters from the amazing digital circus. Today's video will focus entirely on the rabbit Jax. In this episode, I'll do my best to break down the layers of his personality and explain the reasons behind his constant cruelty and sarcasm. And by the end of this video, I'll share my personal theory about the real reason behind the fourth wall breaking in this animated series. In the first 6 episodes of the amazing digital circus, we don't get much information about Jax's character. In fact, he's the only one whose backstory wasn't revealed in episode 5, and that's for several reasons we'll discuss shortly. All we know so far is that he has a fear of corn, and that he's 22 years old, making him the youngest human trapped inside the digital circus. Remember this detail, because it'll help us later when analyzing and understanding his behavior more deeply. The show's creator, Gooseworks, describes Jax as the bad boy, or the awful one of the story. She also mentioned that his behavior will only get worse as the series progresses, simply because he was designed to be that way. Jax's personality is reminiscent of Bugs Bunny from Looney Tunes, a mischievous cartoon rabbit who often does things that can harm others, yet remains entertaining and funny to the audience. That's what made him a fan favorite, despite his cruel and inconsiderate actions toward the other characters. That's the role Jax was created for, the role he accepted and fully embraced. But in reality, his behavior, his apathy, his teasing of Ragatha and Kane, and even his cruelty toward Pomni is just a mask. It's a defense mechanism to hide his true self. What do I mean by that? I mean that Jax isn't truly the sarcastic, uncaring character he pretends to be. He was designed that way, to act mean and indifferent. But as we saw especially in episode 6, he genuinely cares about others, even if he constantly denies it. But before we can understand why Jax feels forced to play this cynical role all the time, we first need to explore his relationship with the other humans trapped inside the circus.
I'm fine with doing whatever, as long as I get to see funny things happen to people.
First, Jax says that his main motivation is boredom. He's willing to do anything as long as it leads to something funny happening to others. In short, chaos and comedic twists are his only source of entertainment inside the circus. There's no doubt about it, he genuinely enjoys these moments. After all, since there are no real consequences for his actions, and no one can truly die in this digital world, why should he restrain himself? Concepts like fear and death simply don't exist here, or at least that's what Jax has convinced himself to believe. Jax does his best to ignore the idea of abstracting, because that's the one line that terrifies him. He knows that once someone becomes abstracted inside the digital circus, there's no coming back. So while death doesn't exist in this world, abstraction takes its place, a fate even Jax fears, not just for himself, but for everyone else trapped alongside him. And that brings us to his relationship with the other humans. Jax doesn't pick his victims randomly. He often targets Ragatha and Gangle, but Gangle in particular for a very specific reason. He always breaks her mask, sometimes even unintentionally, but there's a deeper meaning behind it. Jax actually hates the fact that Gangle hides her emotions. He despises how she constantly wears that smiling mask just to keep others from seeing her sadness. So he breaks it, on purpose. In episode 4, Gangle even admits that her mask gets broken often, and during those moments, she doesn't have to hide her sorrow anymore. Without realizing it, Jax was the one who helped relieve that emotional burden by shattering the only thing she used to conceal her true self. On the other hand, Ragatha also wears a kind of invisible mask. Her excessive optimism and desperate attempts to make everyone like her are exactly what Jax despises most about her. Ragatha's personality isn't genuine. She's often fake and hypocritical, and that's why Pomni and others who see through her tend to keep their distance. But Ragatha isn't truly a bad person. Her behavior comes from a harsh upbringing under a strict mother, which forced her to constantly seek approval and affection. Over time, she became an artificial person, someone who flatters others just to feel loved. The only time we ever saw her drop that facade completely was in episode 4 of the amazing digital circus, especially in the moment when she told Jax, "I hate you, but I don't want you to hate me." It was one of the few times Ragatha truly spoke her mind, without pretending. So no, Jax doesn't actually hate the other members of the circus. Even though he sees through Ragatha's fake personality, he doesn't despise her as a person. Sure, he enjoys teasing her whenever she acts overly sweet or fake, but his reaction in episode 5 tells a deeper story. When Ragatha opened up about her strict mother and her painful childhood, Jax hesitated. For a brief moment, he considered opening up too. But he stopped himself, forced a grin, and diverted the attention to Kinga instead, avoiding vulnerability altogether. Jax's tendency to avoid forming emotional bonds with the other circus members stems from his fear of losing someone he cares about again, likely connected to the earlier frog character, who became abstracted. As we said before, abstraction is an irreversible fate. Building close relationships would only make that loss more painful. So Jax decided to accept his role in this story, to play the sarcastic clown, detached from everyone else. Take Zubul, for example. She represents the positive, opposite side of Jax's character. Despite her rough tone at times, she's genuinely kind and supportive because she understands the value of emotional connections. This contrast between them is the main reason for their constant clashes. Plus, they're nearly the same age. She's just slightly older, maybe half a mask more mature, you could say. The sarcastic mask Jax wears doesn't just protect him from emotional attachment, it also protects the others from becoming attached to him. That way, if Jax ever becomes abstracted one day, his loss won't devastate the rest of the group. Or at least, that's what he hopes. But what about Pomni?
Do it.
If I shoot you right now, are we still gonna be friends afterwards?
We were never friends.
At first, Jax treated Pomni just as harshly as everyone else, tossing her off trucks, using her as bait, and doing whatever amused him in the moment. To him, it was all just another game. Because of that, Pomni saw him the same way everyone else did, an annoying rabbit who only cared about himself and found joy in making others miserable. But something changed in episode 4 of the amazing digital circus. During the fast food adventure, while time dragged on and boredom set in, Jax dropped his mask, his role in this twisted world, for just a moment. Feeling strangely weary, he turned to Pomni and asked, "How are you?" A simple question, but one that completely caught her off guard. Coming from Jax, the very person who supposedly didn't care about anyone's feelings, it was shocking. She wasn't sure how to respond, not because of the question itself, but because of who asked it. The reason Jax opened up, even briefly, was that this adventure felt real to him, more natural than the others. For a fleeting moment, he forgot where he was. When he finished his shift and got into his car, it was as if he believed he was heading home, only to remember, too late, that he no longer has a home to return to. That realization hit hard, pulling him back into despair. The second time we see Jax relax and open up to Pomni is in episode 5, during Kinga's calm adventure. Another one of the few normal episodes. In one scene, Jax asks her, almost absent-mindedly, "Do you think Gangle can ever be happy? Do you think her friendship with Zubul could magically fix her sadness?" Pomni, stunned, admits she never thought Jax cared about how anyone else felt. Before he can respond, before he can truly open up, Jax realizes he's letting his guard down again. Quickly, he hides behind his usual smirk and mutters, "I don't really care about them anyway." Pomni presses further, asking if he has any friends. Ragatha answers for him. Not anymore. That small slip, that "not anymore," hits a nerve. It hints at Jax's past, at the loss of someone dear to him long ago. After Ragatha leaves, Pomni and Jax share a quiet conversation. Pomni finally begins to understand how Jax really sees Ragatha, why he dislikes her fake cheerfulness and exaggerated positivity in this digital prison. But just as quickly, Jax slips back into his familiar role, the sarcastic, smirking rabbit we all know. We also learn something peculiar in this episode. Jax used to have a tail. It's odd, because we never saw it in earlier episodes. Yet in episode 6, suddenly, there it is. Why wasn't it there before? Why now? No one knows. There's even a running joke that the animators simply forgot to include it earlier and remembered by episode 5. Speaking of episode 6, it's the one that focuses most deeply on Jax and his growing bond with Pomni. Here, Jax becomes noticeably more open with her, and a strange but genuine friendship begins to form. The main reason Pomni decided to befriend Jax, despite everything he's done, is simple. She realized he's lonely. His cruel humor, his distance, all of it stems from the fact that he keeps everyone away. One of the best details in this episode comes when Jax asks Pomni what role she wants to play in this digital cartoon world. She surprises him by choosing to play the villain. It's completely out of character for her. She's far too kind, and her acting is awkward because of it. But there's a deeper reason behind her choice. Back in episode 5, Pomni noticed how easily Jax interacted with her evil version during the softball adventure. They seemed to click in a strange way. So when given the chance, Pomni decided to take on that same type of role, hoping it would help her connect with Jax and build a stronger friendship. And it worked, at least for a moment. Jax let go of his usual cynicism, forgot the world they were trapped in, and genuinely enjoyed himself alongside Pomni, his only real friend in the circus.
Jax even chose to sing the Dizzy Pal song with Pomni instead of using the key he had, simply to spend more time with her and enjoy her company. When Pomni asked why he was afraid of corn, he didn't fake an answer or try to dodge the question. He was honest for once, sharing what he truly felt. Still, we can clearly see that Jax remains terrified of forming emotional attachments. He doesn't want close relationships. He keeps drawing invisible lines between himself and everyone else, reinforcing his emotional walls. Ragatha's harsh words, accusing him of corrupting others, combined with Korfmo's and the frog's transformations, reignited his fear of losing someone again. One of the strongest pieces of evidence for this is what happened when Pomni tried to hug him. Without even thinking, Jax instantly pushed her away. The reaction was so sudden and instinctive that it shocked even him. In that same scene, he stares at his hand, lost in thought, a silent realization of his own fear of closeness. This single moment reveals more about his true emotions than anything else. Afterward, when Pomni tells him to take things seriously and stop acting like a sarcastic cartoon rabbit, Jax snaps back, saying that she's the clown, so why should he take her seriously? Pomni replies that he's the one who started the conversation, not her. He denies it, but we know the truth. Jax doesn't want to be alone. That's why he opened up to Pomni before. But deep down, he still believes that staying in character, sticking to his role, is the safest choice for him. That's why he insists Pomni do the same, to play her part, to stop breaking the illusion. When she starts talking about transformations, he yells at her, not because he's angry, but because she doesn't understand what it's like to stand on the edge of collapse, to watch others fall apart, and fear that the same fate might come for you. When Pomni asks what he'd do if she transformed tomorrow, Jax coldly replies that he'd just forget about her and move on with his life. And while that response sounds cruel, it's not entirely a lie. It's what Jax wants to believe. If you never form a deep bond, you can't be hurt when that bond is broken. If you lose someone, it won't destroy you, because you convinced yourself they never meant that much to begin with. But when Jax sees Pomni's hurt reaction, he quickly backtracks, saying, "I was just kidding." He doesn't want to hurt her. In fact, he cares about her more than he'll admit. That's why he begs her to stop looking inside him, to stop trying to find the real person behind the jokes. He wants her to accept him as the character he pretends to be. This inner conflict, his desperate push and pull between caring and denying care, might one day lead to his downfall, even his transformation. It's only a theory, but one thing's certain: Jax is too beloved, too complex, and too human beneath that cartoon mask to be written off easily. But the biggest question about Jax's character is this: why does he keep breaking the fourth wall? So far, we haven't fully explained why he does it. Yet in almost every episode, Jax does something odd. He smirks at the camera, shrugs his shoulders, or even speaks directly to us. There are several possible explanations for this behavior, but in this video, I'll share the two most likely theories I've developed after analyzing the episodes. The first theory is that Jax refuses to grow up. He doesn't want to let go of his childish side. Since Jax is the youngest human trapped in this digital circus, it means he was imprisoned at an age when people are still figuring out who they are. His refusal to mature made him believe that this entire world is just a cartoon show, and that he's now a part of it. So he decided to embrace the role of the sarcastic rabbit, breaking the fourth wall like Bugs Bunny. But in reality, he's not talking to a real audience. He's talking to no one. There's no camera, no viewers, only the voices inside his head. Every time Jax breaks the fourth wall, he's really talking to himself, a coping mechanism, a way to maintain his mental stability and make sense of his endless confinement. The second theory suggests that Jax is far smarter than we think. According to this idea, Jax already knows they're living inside an entertainment show, and he's known for a long time. Jax is observant and intelligent. He must have noticed the repeating patterns, the mission-like adventures, the scripted dialogues, even the NPC-like characters that populate their world. He must have pieced it all together, the clues, the behaviors, the structure, until he finally realized the truth. They're all trapped inside a show watched by people outside the digital circus. So, every time Jax breaks the fourth wall, it's his secret way of saying, "I know what's really going on." But this raises a deeper question. Who exactly is the audience? Is it us, the real-world viewers? Or are there other characters within the show who exist outside the circus, watching the performers like a twisted form of entertainment? Honestly, we don't know for sure. There are too many unanswered questions. Who was the committee Kane mentioned? Was he referring to us, since we vote on characters? Or was he talking about other entities within the story? And why was Bubble carrying a camera that seemed to record everything? All these mysteries point to something much larger, and I'll dive deeper into them in my upcoming analysis video about Kane, or Kinger, and his connection to the truth behind this digital circus. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. What are you waiting for?
I'm learning a lot about you today.
Let's not forget we're here to kill people.
In the end, Jax's character isn't as complicated as it may seem. He isn't insane like other cartoon characters known for breaking the fourth wall. Jax is simply a 22-year-old young man who wears a mask of cruelty and plays the role of a careless rabbit as a form of self-protection. You can easily interpret his actions once you understand the way he thinks. Finally, I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think of this analysis? Share your opinions in the comments and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss more analyses like this. I'll see you in the next video.